last night I went to go see Insurgent. Why? Not because I liked the books and wanted to see the movie, no, because I wanted to bring for you all another movie review, because I haven't done one of those in a while. A review of a movie, of a book that I hated. So, because I'm a masochist. So go check out my review of the book Insurgent. You can find it on my Blip TV channel, I'll link you below. But now, let's talk about the movie. So this is an action movie, and for an action movie I found it really slow. Like, I was bored a lot. At certain points I was almost falling asleep. Like, even the action scenes were like so done, so cliched that I was just bored out of my mind. The movie is more noticeably like The Hunger Games than the book was. The movie is so noticeably a ripoff of The Hunger Games that I was getting the two confused in my head. Like, literally, I was thinking of moments from the latest Hunger Games movie and wondering like how they related to what was happening on the screen, and I was like, oh no, wait, that's a different movie, they're just almost exactly the same. Although, this movie might have been more overtly violent than The Hunger Games, not in the amount of gore that it showed, but the amount of people that it killed, that our main character personally killed. She never did this, but there were at least two, maybe I'm forgetting one, but at least two execution-style shootings. Wow. So yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily worse that it's more violent than The Hunger Games, or at least seems to be, because like the violence is a lot more overt. Like, you know, good guy stands there and shoots bad guy in back of head while bad guy is kneeling on the floor. That's what we've got in this book, in this movie, I should say. Book 2, probably, I don't really remember. And our main character, while she doesn't kill anyone execution style, does kill probably more people than Katniss. Katniss, like, kills people secondhand, you know, like, because of her, people are dying, but Triss actually kills people with her own hands, which is not necessarily a bad thing, I feel, because often female protagonists are not allowed to do that, because women are so good and pure that they don't kill people, and Triss just straight up murders some people. So, I actually don't have as big of a problem with that, although it does strike me as a little bit odd with the tone of the movie and the way that it behaves in every other way, like a cliched movie for teens, wherein the main characters would loathe killing and would avoid it and would leave enemies alive at every opportunity. I definitely felt like the goal of the bad guys was a lot more clear in the movie than in the book. I mean, in the book it was fairly clear, but in this one it was just like, this is what they want, this is how they're gonna get it at the end. So I couldn't remember where, because I read the book like probably a couple years ago now, I couldn't remember where the book left off in the story, you know, the overarching story, and so I wasn't sure when where the movie was going to end, and there are several points in like the final like fourth of the movie where literally like you'd look at the character and the music would swell and you would think now they're gonna fade to black in credits, and then the movie would keep going. They did that to me like 3 times. The nice thing about the movie versus the book is that 4 is not a complete Jack White in the movie. In the book, he is an emo, abusive asshole. In this one, he's like a reasonable boyfriend, and their relationship in the movie is not the main focus of the story. In the book, it was a lot of the focus and how these two people should not be in a relationship because they clearly cannot function as a couple. But in the movie, like, they didn't have any of that needless drama, and you know what? It was much better for it. Like, you don't need to have a couple be in constant conflict and concern that their relationship isn't gonna work. That doesn't need to be always happening. If that was always happening in real relationships, then people would never stay together. I wanted to know, because I go to the Cuddle faction. If you remember, I gave all the factions fun names, and I'm going to stick with it. They go to the Cuddle faction, and we find out that they're all, like, hippie Amish farmers for some reason, and they're, like, using horses, and I'm going, why? If they are farmers, presumably they're probably supplying food to other factions, and if that's the case, why don't those other factions let them use fucking tractors? Like, why are they using their hands? And of course, because this is an idyllic, perfect place, nobody's dirty, nobody's sickly, nobody probably smells horrible because they've been working in the fields all day. Everyone's very clean and very happy and serving out all these fresh vegetables all the time. And I was just like, what is this? What? This was like nothing like anywhere else in the, you know, gated community where they live. And I don't remember if it was like that in the book, but I don't think it was like that in the book. Maybe it was, and I just didn't notice. They all want peace and love, and they're probably growing marijuana. When Triss visited the Cuddle faction in the book, because the factions can use various artificial methods to make people fit better into their factions. In the book this happened, in the movie this really didn't happen. But in the book they use these, they use like this serum to make Triss, who is an asshole, more friendly, and they give her too much and then she's like, hi. And if any of you watched my book review, you know that I found Hi Triss to be the best part of the whole book, and I was really disappointed that we did not get to see her in the movie. I would have loved it. It would have been the best. So Triss is the special because she is 100% divergent, which means she fits into all of the factions. In the book, I believe there were only 3 that she like specifically fit into. But in the movie, we have this awesome magic device that not only, at first it only tells you if a person is divergent, and then, conveniently when the movie needs it to, suddenly it is able to detect what level of divergence they have, how many factions they would fit into. Which just, I laughed at that, because I was like, oh, good thing we have that really weird device. Cool, cool. But anyway, we find out that Triss is 100% divergent, just to make her the most special of all of the specials that there are. Because if you remember in the book, that's what she is. No one is specialer than her. And fortunately, they just conveniently never test 4 with the device. Like, I was really curious why they didn't test him, because he's supposed to be divergent too, right? Or did we completely forget about that from the previous movie? And we know why he wasn't tested. Presumably, so in the next movie he can have angst, so we're finding out that he's not divergent, really. Spoilers there, I don't care. And so, yeah, they conveniently didn't test him in the movie, and it felt really weird that they wouldn't. Plot convenience. So Triss is once again pretty emo in the movie, not as emo as she was in the book because we are not privy to her great long emo monologues. She does have some PTSD dreams, you know, that's normal. Again, hi Katniss. Her mom in this movie gets more screen time as a dead person than she got in the previous movie, and I find that hilarious. Her dad gets a little bit, but apparently we don't love him enough to feel bad about his death. And also there's that guy that she shot, and this is the problem in both the book and the movie. She shoots one of her friends at the end of previous book or movie, and then in this one she's really torn up about it, but nobody remembers this kid and nobody cared about him in book or movie, and so when she's really upset about it, we don't know why. It's like, okay, so you killed this guy that you knew. You killed a guy you knew. That's sad. And then it was the boyfriend of her friend Christina, who at least gives us a little reason to care that she shot this guy, but in the movie, it felt really tacked on. Like they could have skipped that part completely. I mean, it's to add to Triss's guilt, because she's supposed to be super guilty about everything in this movie/book, but it felt like so tacked on that Christina was upset about it. It was just like, she just kind of glared at Triss, and that was it. And since Christina had not really been a big character in the movie, we, the audience, didn't care that Christina was upset. Who cares? She's not an important character. I like Peter in the movie. I liked him in the book too, as the most interesting character. In the movie, like, you just got the sense that he was just like, I just want to live. I just want to survive this, and I will do whichever side seems the most likely to make me be alive still, is the side I want to join. And you know what? That made sense. Because Triss's side is probably going to get him killed, so he went to the other one. And then he was like, oh, Triss's side is maybe winning. I better move back over because I want to live, man. And I was amused by that, and I like that. I want to follow his character and his just trying to survive in this shitstorm that he's in. Okay, so let's talk about the ending. In the ending of the book, as I recall, Triss tries to get this object, I don't remember what it is, and when she goes into this secret lab to face Janine, I believe it's Janine who's the bad guy, this like poison gas hits her with some undescribed thing that's probably a sim, and she has to fight a Shadowlink version of herself, and it made no sense and was really weird and confusing and lame. And in this one, it makes a lot more sense what she's doing and why they need her and why she has to face her shadow self and so forth. But at the same time, like, they put her into this sim, and here, I'm going to spoil some of the ending here, so if you really care, just skip to the end of this video. So they put her in this sim where she has to succeed at all of the sims for each of the factions, because each faction puts their people through some weird little trial. And so she has to do that, and I was like, wait, she's like 100% Divergent, the most Divergent that there is. And in the previous movie, she was able to realize that she was in a simulation and overcome it because she realized it. In this one, she just goes through the simulations just straight. I was waiting for her to use her cool Divergent powers to like fly around or something and be like, this ain't no thing. Look at this. I realize that I'm in a sim and I can separate that from reality because I have Divergent powers. Duh. But instead she just goes through them normally, and I was like super confused. And some of the faction trials were like so intense, like the Dauntless one, where she's like climbing on the outside of a burning building that is 50 feet up in the air and rotating. And then some of them were just like, you know, like, oh, you didn't shoot that guy, that means you passed the compassion test. Yeah. I was like, I wish that we had had time or creativity to create equally challenging trials for all of them. Although I understand how that would have been really hard to do for some of them, but like, yeah, like, maybe you put her in it, like, for the compassion one instead of not shooting some guy. Or the service one, the one for her own faction where she doesn't shoot a guy. It could be like, okay, she's in a war zone, and she has a choice, pick up a gun, or help that injured guy over there. Trish's first instinct might be to grab the gun and start shooting the enemy, but what she should really do is help the guy. You know, like that kind of test, instead of just like, oh, you didn't shoot what's his nuts. Hooray, you pass. Or like you're in a war zone and you spend the entire time carrying buckets of water. A not glorious but highly necessary job. You know, something like that. Come on, people. I can come up with these. You could too. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Insurgent. I wouldn't recommend that you go see it unless you actually like the book, and I actually read the book so long ago that I'm not really 100% sure how it stacks up. I definitely like certain things about the movie better than I remember liking certain things about the book, and I think certain things in the book were probably a little bit better explained maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I'll probably subject myself to the third movie, and if they split it into two, which they probably will because money, I will probably just not review them as sections. I'll probably just review them both once they're both out. But anyway, yeah, hope you enjoyed my review, and I will see y'all around. Later.